High spots and cheap pops, you're on the air.
High spots and cheap pops, folks. We're only a couple hours away. The Young Bucks with their grand retort. It's supposed to be about Jack Perry and CM Punk. Vladi Dadi, what say you?
Yeah, it's pretty similar to yours, man. Like when I heard of this, at first I'm like, this, is it April Fool's Day now? It's actually, it seems legitimate. They announced this on the show, and on this show, going to be this on Dynamite. You have a person by the last name of Rhodes competing for the world title against a Samoan guy. Ironically enough.
I don't think that's a big deal, but I get what you're saying. I actually made that joke today, and I might as well have made fun of someone's mother. An AEW fan ripped me a new one.
But I mean, they don't see the correlation between Cody Rhodes just winning, and then all of a sudden Dustin Rhodes has a world title match. I mean, I thought they were going by records and stuff like that, right? I mean, they're
that's the thing. They go by records in terms of big matches that are already what have you. There's still, and even in boxing, you don't always have the number one contender against the champion. So I think people think you're being a little bit.
Nevertheless, even without the records, the fact that your next show after WrestleMania, where your former EVP by the name of Cody Rhodes won the world title from Roman Reigns, creating a new era in your biggest competitor, that you have his brother who's on your payroll going against Samoa Joe. I mean, it's just using the Rhodes name, trying to this is something like, and again, it's biting off of Cody, who's currently at WWE. And then the other big moment that you're looking to push is involving CM Punk, who's also at WWE, who was also a former employee of yours. And you're basically basing the structure of your television show on people that aren't even there in some ways, especially this Punk thing. Okay. Now, as you mentioned, you painted it beautifully. They're the heels. They're going into this next pay-per-view, which is what, Dynasty, I believe it's called.
Dynasty.
They're going against FTR for the world title here. So there is a connection between Punk and FTR, of course. Those guys are friends. And you have a situation here where they're sort of alluding to, how can I put this? They have footage, and it's Jack Perry and CM Punk related. But what exactly are they able to show? Are they even able to say his name on the air? This is where they sort of paint themselves in a corner. And truthfully, getting to something else you mentioned, the time they should have showed this footage was when Tony Khan mentioned he was afraid for his life. They should have, he started the show off with this. I'm sorry, but this is what we had to deal with. He was totally out of his mind. He became unhinged. And you and I talked about it after that happened. And I actually said to you, I go, did he threaten his life? Like, did he just flip and look to kill him? Because the way Tony Khan presented us. Now we heard what Punk mentioned on Hawani's podcast. Does this all line up? But they're not even showing you that aspect of it, whatever scared Tony. It's just what happened between Jungle Jerkoff and CM Punk here. And if it's anywhere, if it's like, how can I put this? If it's even 50% true, you just wasted my time. And what was this for, other than a ratings grab? Timing's of the essence and everything. And the fact that they're doing this as a reaction to Punk sitting down with Hawani and having many, many views and people getting, absorbing his side of the story, it irked these guys, man. Tony Khan, not a fan of Hawani to begin with, and he's probably hurt that his friend CM Punk went and spoke of him in such an honest way. There's probably a pretty bitter truth pill for Tony Khan to swallow. And then he has his little EVPs who are making more money than any other tag team in history off of him, but haven't really done much previous to this. And now, we're going to go and do this video thing. Listen, you were a big fan of BTE. I hope it's nothing like that in terms of whatever route they're going with this. And my feeling is this is probably more tied to them going against FTR than anything to do with Punk, if I had to guess. So we'll see what happens, but it's not a good look overall. I don't see what they have to gain with it.
No,
he's not coming back. Like, that's it. It's over. So, like, what's the point of this? They had their chance to work with them and work through this. Not done.
The children. They're like fucking children that never grew up. These guys aren't men. They're kids.
Yeah.
I mean, God bless them. Look, I always give them all the credit in the world for creating AEW. Cody, Kenny, the Bucks, Tony, and everybody else that were part of the genesis of this company, because it's changed the business better than ever. And yeah, it inspired WWE to shape up and ship out a particular old pervert who we already mentioned today.
Yeah.
So AEW is great, and we want it to continue. We want it to succeed, but doing things like this is not going to help you. This reeks of WCW. It almost like a Vince Russo thing. How off the wall this is, and how reactive
that myself. Yep.
This is carny bullshit. This is Vince Russo carny bullshit.
Yep.
This is Vince Russo calling out Hulk Hogan in a shoot interview on a pay-per-view. Carny bullshit.
Yep.
And it is embarrassing for legends who are in this company right now. There are people who are legends in this company.
Yep.
Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, Samoa Joe, Edge, Christian. And then guys like Wardlow and guys that maybe he's a bad example because of whatever, but there's so many people who've been in the business for over a decade that are the heart and soul of AEW. People like Eddie Kingston, whether you want to like him or not.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing for each and every one of these guys because they know how childish and stupid the Bucks are being. They know how idiotic this is. So if it's real, if it's a real video, how are you going to turn it into a thing with FTR? And how is FTR going to still be the big-time babyface team and these guys going to be the scumbags if they're the ones carrying the AEW flag and defending it from CM Punk, who is now doing exactly what he did with WWE, seemingly, and take every single solitary opportunity to try to bring down AEW. The problem is AEW is a lot weaker than WWE ever was. CM Punk wasn't just another spoke in the wheel in AEW. He was a straw that stirred the whole drink. In WWE, he was. And they left, and other than people chanting and taking over a couple shows, WWE kept on with business as usual, and they kept on making memories, and they kept on having major things happen. They kept on having Roman do what he did, and Daniel Bryan have his big WrestleMania 30 moment, and The Undertaker losing his streak, the rise of Seth Rollins, the Shield becoming the legends that they are. So WWE just kept on going. This is something where AEW still refuses just to fucking move on. And now you have a guy like CM Punk who have the people behind him, the WWE universe behind him, which is a lot louder and a lot more vocal than the AEW. I mean, not more vocal, because the AEW gatekeepers, look out. But Punk has buried the company, and they now are just reacting, looking like children, like immature, spoiled little bitches. Hopefully it's not that, but I can't see how this can go good and how this will be a good thing. We'll see what happens, but I am very skeptical of the reasoning, the timing, and what the result is going to bring for AEW. And this could be a disaster, and I have a feeling it's going to be.
Yeah, and they sort of prefaced it too, like what they were coming down to the ring against Best Friends, and I think Matthew Jackson said something like, "Hey, Scapegoat, good work," or "I like your work," and it's like, okay, so like again, inside jokes, sort of alluding to what Punk was, again, it's playing off of what Punk did, and trying to go tit for tat, and it's like, honestly, CM Punk is playing chess to their checkers. And I'm just being frank with you, man. Like, and these guys are so immature; they just don't know how to deal with this. The best thing they could do is just ignore him, move on with your life. You didn't want to work with him in the first place. Go and put on the best show possible. Create some storylines that people give a shit about. And you know what? Like, you have our attention. Like, how do you grow this audience and go and become more competitive? it's up to them.
Thank you so much for watching High Spots and Cheap Pops. For Vladi, Dadi, this is Silicon Steve Alley. Hit the subscribe button and let us know what you think. Thank you for watching, and here endeth the lesson.